I am Yamato Cannon, and this is Muffin, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel.
Like many of my videos, this one is brought to you with delicious gamer subs. I had some earlier today. This particular flavour is Arctic Cooler, which is a tangerine lime infusion. So it's got quite a sweet flavour, and it has like a tanginess to the end. A little bit of spiciness, by the way, kind of reminds you of fans, right? Sometimes they just seem like they're sweet and loving, and then all the times there's like an edge to it, a bit of a harsher flavour, or sometimes outright horrible at the end. But actually, this isn't horrible. It's quite a nice flavour. Not one of my favourites, but it's a good one. This Arctic Cooler, you can get 10% off any gamer subs or anything on their store using the code Thorin, Thorin, at gamersubs.gg. Right, we're going to do another tier list, and I think this one is long overdue. Because if you notice this toxic cycle of certain fan bases attacking sometimes specific people, T1 fans with Dom, for example, or it's just that they attack everyone, like Faker fans, if you say they don't deserve an award, even if you were fucking Cadril, who a minute earlier you thought was like the fucking general in your army of Faker fans, but then you attack him too. When you notice these cycles of attacks go on and on and on and on and on, one of the worst things is, in League of Legends specifically, people are way more scared to speak out because they feel like if I become really unpopular, for example, I'm an on-camera personality, then people won't watch my stream, then people will like go and do things like thumb down my video, even though that's not the end of the world, by the way. People will go on Reddit and say horrible things about me. A lot of broadcast talent care about that. Maybe I won't get hired to LEC because everyone will keep saying to Riot, like I am racist against French people because I say Adam's overrated as a top laner, or oh, you must hate Spanish people because you said Mad Lions Kai wouldn't be a top team in Winter Split 2024. There's that sort of idiot. And then even worse, they have that toxic element where they go, you say we are telling you to kill yourself. They don't just go, well, wait a minute. I would never do that. People in our group are telling us that. Well, tell us who, because I disown them and I'm not like them. I'm like cool, and that's just lunatics. No, they go, no one's doing it. They gaslight you. Oh, that's not happening. Show us proof. By the way, what a humiliation ritual to want you to show proof of how they're abusing you, even though literally anyone who just typed in like that person's name on Twitter and searched on the recent comments and tweets would see all the things they're saying. And then if you do show them the screenshots of them telling you to commit seppuku, then basically they go, well, that's only one person or four people. So you have to just now produce receipts of 1 million people, or even though what's the end goal? So that then you're believed by, checks notes, the people doing it. Do you know what the spoiler is? If someone said to me, your fans, I don't have a massive fan base, I don't coordinate them via Discord, I don't send them to attack people. But let's imagine I had fans that were en masse were commenting on someone. If they said, you have fans that are telling people to kill themselves, or they are worthless pieces of shit, and they are subhuman, and they well, then I'd go, oh, that doesn't sound like my fans. That's the sort of fans I want. In fact, I just own people like that. I just like people who like my work and my worldview. That's because, spoiler, I don't engage in that behaviour. So I think, as a little pro tip, anytime someone goes, yeah, but other teams have bad fans too, then he's one of them. He's just told you he's the crypto shit ultra fan. And by the way, that whole thing, let's get out the way right at the beginning. You know that whole thing of like, well, any large fan base that has success or popularity is going to attract bad elements. What they're doing there for real is acting like you could just say, well, in any country when there's poor people, they'll be criminal. And acting like crime in all the poor areas of every part of the world is identical. But you know that's absurd. Like, you know this. You know that if you go to a small sleepy village in Norway and you find the crime being committed there, it's not even vaguely in the same ballpark as if you went to some country, I guess in this case, just to help you all, I'll just say something like, I don't know, the Middle East or something. If you go to some country where it's sort of allowed that we say they have a dictator or some fucked up thing, and you find the worst criminals there, it'll be horrendous, won't it? Or in certain countries in Africa, for example, where like the most outrageous things happen to people there, and the criminal justice system doesn't take care of people, and potentially doesn't even sometimes punish some of those things. We all know that'd be different. Spoiler, do you know why that is always brought up as an argument? That is, again, the shittiest fan bases excusing and justifying what they're happening, making it sound like it's just a natural event that people are super shitty in their fan base. Even though, bizarrely, TSM fans, 1,000 times worse than Cloud9 fans, even when TSM weren't relevant anymore, and Cloud9 were the number one team and they had all the fans. Then you go and you look, when T1 has had other teams rise up in popularity near them, they never get close to them. Doesn't matter how much Gen G wins or beats T1, their Gen G fans never seem to become these lunatics. Chovy fans never become the lunatics. lunatics that Faker fans are. Doesn't matter if Upset's the best ADC in Europe. Even Forgiven, who himself, by the way, if you had to say, I don't like the use of toxic, but what people colloquially call toxic, one of the most toxic players ever, even he didn't have fans that were like that in the same way as Reckless fans were. And funny enough, Reckless publicly didn't even show that kind of toxicity. So there are definitely gradations. And anyone who tries to say, no, don't look at that. Yeah, no shit, because you don't want me to uncover the rock to see you and your little pals and your little goodies under there, you fucking dickhead. So we're not just talking, by the way, now about annoying fans. We're also going to get into the weeds, right? So we're talking about people who do death threats. We're talking about people who harass people's families, their loved ones. By the way, here's a good one where they go and harass people's friends. Like, now if you have someone who follows your account or replies to you on Twitter, now they demand that person explains and justifies all of your crimes, like making a joke or having a different opinion about leagues. So now suddenly, just by being part of your circle, they're trying to test the weak spots of the chain here, guys. They're trying to put pressure on them to not be your friends because they're lunatic, unhinged ultra fans. How about other angles where if they don't like you, they won't just mob you for the tweet they don't like. They'll just spam all your social media. So if you're someone who's a YouTube or Instagram person, they'll just go on all your other posts and write shitty comments there. If you do other YouTube comments, say you did one in League, a comment that they didn't like, they'll go onto your CS video and put loads of negative comments and thumb it down, etc. They'll go onto any post you have that's a sponsor, and this is not a joke, they will literally make up a lie that they've used that product and it was a scam and they had money stolen from them. They'll just lie about things like that, or say they bought the product and it didn't work or it poisoned them. They are so, actually, I'm not even joking, these people appear to have not just corrupted, zero morality. Their logic is, you don't like the thing I like, so you are like existential evil to me, and you must be driven from the world by whatever means necessary, even if that means I become a monster to do so. That's how fucked in the head these people are. So I don't think you can compare TSM and Cloud9 fans. I've never seen the same vitriol from T9 fans, no matter how good they were. And by the way, they went further than TSM at fucking Worlds, you idiots. I've never seen Gen G, no matter how good they got, when they won the World Championship. They technically were Samsung at the time, yes. I've never ever seen those fans behave that way. I've seen creator fan bases be pretty bad, but those don't typically tend to be the unalive yourself in Minecraft. It tends to be more like just parasocially being on. Like, somehow Faker fans are way worse than LS fans, even though there's got to be a crossover. Also, I'll just throw this out there. There is the whole coordinated aspect, which is these fans are so stupid, and most of them have never heard of you, and you're just like 18. By the way, you'll see it in their bio. They proudly say they're 18. They'll just put like KC stat or T1 win, and then you realise this person's just an ignorant drone following the direction of other people. They're not smart enough to even figure out how to harass someone. They have to be directed by a Discord of ultras or a subreddit or a big streamer and influencer on their platform. And what happens is they sort of like tell you, except sometimes they do it cleverly, they do it in the same way as that famous story of that priest in England who got killed, who was the friend of the king, and they had a dispute, right? And then the king famously, supposedly said in front of a few of his knights, like, who will rid me of this troublesome priest? And he was supposed to mean like, oh, I was just venting. But one of his knights went, oh, yeah, I'm a thinker. And he just went off and took the initiative and just went and killed that guy, and then came back like, yeah, I killed him for you. And then the king guy was like, what the fuck? Because he just was he was just malding at his mate, wasn't he? And then someone went and actually killed that guy for him, thinking, oh, yes, that's what he wants me to kill him. It's a dog whistle, isn't it? So I think some of them do that as well. Like, hey guys, check out this, what they're saying about you and us and our people and our team and our country. And then they know what the response that will have. So then you have them all swarm you. And as I say, 1 million were just teenagers. I'll give you a very, very brief sort of anthropological reading of what's going on. First of all, you've got tribalism. It's based on country or team. And it's the idea that, like, they're not part of our tribe. They're the out-group. So as the in-group, we strengthen the in-group further by being totally against the out-group and doing raiding parties on them. That's actually just human history recapitulated there for people who aren't civilized. Then you could add in, there's the whole fatherlessness part. Some of these people are just looking for a dad. Now, that dad might end up just being LS or Faker or Reckless, or if not a dad, a friend. They're just looking for a best friend. So they identify with Reckless. And if you ever see a Reckless fan, they talk about Reckless like a 14-year-old teenage girl talks about someone in like a fucking visual novel. Like, oh, he's so dreamy and he's a good guy deep down and people misunderstand him. But like the real ones know like what his heart is. And you insist he's just like real like they are. And you're like, you've never met him or what are you talking about, you lunatics? There's that part. And then I always say this last one. One of the ways sports is actually an excellent vehicle for spiritual social energy is obviously the aspect which you could say is actually quite cynically why they allow us bread in circuses. It's that it actually takes the impulse to battle and to have war, and it takes that and channels it into a harmless vent that is just watching a sport. You watch two teams compete with agreed upon rules, no one dies in the better sports, and when there's not a tragedy, and then that gets the feeling out of you that you used to actually have a war with your neighbouring town or village or country or whatever. That gets that energy out of you. So everyone understands sports are a proxy for war. Well, in the modern day, since there's no religion, but there was when sports were invented, I think sports now are a proxy for religion. I think if you look at the way the Faker fans talk, they're not even fans of his because they're Faker fans and that guy's Chovy fan, or because Faker's really good at the game, or Faker's great. They're fans of Faker because he's their god. That's why when Faker's at his worst, smashes his head off a wall and he's not going to qualify to Worlds, they know that he's going to win Worlds because they believe. It's about faith, not rational reason. It's the religious impulse, which itself is not only necessary, but can be good and positive in channeled different ways. They're just channeling it into a video game player from Korea who's still good enough at the game barely to win. That's what they've made their religion. And so as a result, if you say that he's not the best, what you mean is you don't believe in him to be the ultimate god in a monarchy, in monotheism. Now you believe in, I don't know, either a different god, so you're a heretic, or even worse, maybe you're just some pagan heathen who believes in a pantheon of gods. Maybe you believe it should be Faker and Chovy and Knight and Uzi and Ruler and, like Score. Maybe you should believe that like someone like Monte Cristo would, right? Even though you might still pick, like in this scenario, ironically, it could be that Faker's like Zeus, isn't he? He's the leader of the pantheon, but it is still a pantheon of gods. Obviously, Faker doesn't have fuck all to do with Zeus nowadays, does he? But enough about that. So now let's do the tier list. I think what we will do is we'll go down. I've selected these ones because obviously I don't want to put every fan base in the world. So I've tried to pick ones that are either total lunatics for their behaviour within the video game, or special attention goes to people who also then it's just death threats and trying to kill you and stuff. So we've got Adam fans, not specifically just PDS fans, but we've also got PDS fans. But because remember, those are the nuke fans. So those are the ones, again, who act like you have to say they're the best, even though, by the way, they never won a split. They only made one fight, but you have to treat them like they're the best all the time, or you obviously hate them and all French people. By the way, French and Spanish people so far in League of Legends, by default, say you're racist if you say something about one of their players. If I say Adam's just fucking overrated player, what a dickhead, they go, bit racist. If you go, Mad Lions fans are fucking scumbags the way they treat people. They go, how racist against Spanish people? Because that's also what weak minds do. They create a victim complex. And in the modern day, all the isms and ists, they're just the grab bag that losers reach into to justify being losers. So you got BDS fans, you got Doublelift fans. You're all going to think, no way, Doublelift fans. Thorin, you were a Doublelift fan. Yeah, of his game. I thought his persona was quite cool until Lena took over it and cordyceps him. Look that up, straight fire reference. I think he became an absolute dickhead at the end of the TSM fan times. And spoiler, absolutely remember when his fans were denying that on camera he had actually lied and shown you fake lane swaps that weren't lane swaps, and he just inconveniently didn't show the rest of the game play out. And then they would even reference, but he did show a lane swap. It's in this video at this time. Because not only did they not know, but they worship him like their god or as their dad or their new best friend. So the only person, by the way, gets to pretend Doublelift's their best friend is Travis. That's just a good joke, right? Then we got Faker, because does that even need to be stated? Spoiler, Faker fans can even somewhat agree with you. He isn't the best player at League, but then simultaneously take a breath and explain that he should win Best League of Legends Player Award and that you hate him or are somehow you're mentally deranged if you think he shouldn't win that. They can hold all those ideas in their brain at once. Fnatic fans goes without saying, I've always said, Fnatic fans are just the TSM fans of Europe. They have warped almost every Reddit thread that was on the front page for about 10 years. So everyone that was about G2, Carlos, about transfers, about people leaving Fnatic, they've all been warped. It's why I actually will even say, fair play to the Fnatic fans for being such lunatics. You're not just Reckless fans, because I did see that when Reckless left you high and dry, some of you were even pissed at him. So you would even turn on your own prodigal son, as it were. Then you got the Carmine Corp fans. Again, it goes without saying, considering their team is liquid pig shit and has never been even vaguely close to ever making an LC final, you would think, with how shitty their fans are, that they'd won like 15 fucking LECs. It's insane. You'd think they were the G2 fans. By the way, notice G2 fans, not only not on this list, not even considered. not even in the same universe, because Carlos established and the players a sense of self-deprecation, understanding that to give a shot, you got to be able to take one. Banter, that's what it's called, like the free fucking fair play of back and forth jokes and making comments. And certainly they might be delusional about how good their team is, but that's just being a fan. Then we got LS fans. Now, you know I love LS in many senses, but I absolutely cannot abide by some of his fans. Sadly, like a lot of giant streamers that are about personality, you get a lot of parasocial losers. And I'll get into a story of me and Ellis that people might know. You got the Mad Lions Koi fans. I will say that one's a bit trickier, because you have to specifically make it Mad Lions Koi. When it was just Mad Lions, and it was Niski, and it was Kazi, and before that Humanoid, and El Yoya, actually those fans were pretty chill fans. I don't think they had a massive fan base. They had a bigger fan base than the Rogues of the world. But I always thought those fans were just people, actually, if anything, they were sort of the people who were like the lucky losers. They knew that their team wasn't really going to win, and that they could just give a good showing. And they would just sort of, they were like a fan of Niski, or they were a fan of El Yoya, or they were a fan of the style of the team, or Mac, or Peter Dunn or something. It's when they became Mad Lions Koi and they became associated with Ibai, and then it just became like everyone Spanish just jump on this team and be shitty to everyone else who isn't Spanish, basically, including members of the team who aren't Spanish, which is also why, by the way, if you're not French and you play, or Belgian, and you play for BDS or Carmine Corp, you are just signing up for mental health abuse. And if you play for Mad Lions, and Giant X somehow doesn't even get, that's how shitty Giant X is, they don't even get remembered that they're Spanish. But if you play for Mad Lions and you aren't Spanish, yeah, you're shit out of luck, mate. You enjoy having a really bad time when the other Spanish players in the team play like shit and the team plays like shit. You'll just take all the abuse. You'll be what is going to be Thorin in T1. Then we got Nemesis. I hope that one speaks for itself. Nemesis fans are the people who, even though he hasn't played professionally in 4 years, still act like this is like January 2021. He's dope, and tomorrow he would be the second best mid laner and the only person who could 10 caps, even though he hasn't played professionally in years at this time. And I don't care that he was on Korean solo queue. I could take you. Here's what's so corrupt about the Korean solo queue album. Angle. Do you know that many, many times over, there have been players who almost got scouted to LEC and LCS teams who have been like number 1 or top 5 on Korean solo queue. And you don't know this, but they did play in the LCK. You just don't know them because they weren't as cracked in LCK. They played on, like, you know, Prion or Nongshim or fucking obviously KDF or FearX. So they played on those teams, especially the old versions of those squads. It's just that they weren't as good in competitive. And they weren't as good when they had a coach and a team environment. They were absolutely cracked up mechanically, though. Like, I'll give you a random one everyone forgets. Nowadays, he's a joke. He never really made it in NA. That guy, Gory, who was only good for, like, a year in NA or something, he was really fucking good at LCK. He was a fucking banger. When he was playing that time when it was him and Peanut, like, that guy was actually, he had skills, mate. When he was on Nongshim. Then we've got Reckless fans. Now, they've been all kinds of fan, because they started off as like the 14-year-old girl who's just in love with Reckless, like he's a K-pop idol. Then they became like toxic because he had all the success. So suddenly you could never say Forgiven's good, or you prefer Forgiven or Freeze, or I don't even know if people are Kazi fans in that way. I guess Upset's the obvious modern day example. Their whole thing is they either just defend Reckless and say he's the best, or they just ceaselessly attack whoever is put forward to be Reckless's rival. And that person's not even human, not a player. They're nothing really, and you're just a piece of shit forever liking them. Then you got T1 fans. By the way, spoiler, T1 fans probably could just instantly jump to us and ruin this whole thing. They've done it all. They've been stupid about the game. They've been stupid about their team. They've been stupid when their team wins. They're bad winners. They're bad losers. They're terrible at evaluating the game. They give all the credit to one guy, all the blame to the other guys. And then they also tell you stuff like unalive yourself. They send trucks to the team, etc. And then we have TSM fans who used to be number 1, but 99% of TSM fans were just idiot Americans like USA. Haha, TSM is the best. You're just jealous. You're just jealous of Reggie Foxlina, and makes millions of dollars and crash 2 Lambos into each other and still have enough money for a 3rd Lambo. Haha, you are jealous. They're just annoying idiots. They're sort of like frat boy dickheads, basically. Like, the people who aren't even the leaders of the frat boy. They're the ones who just got through the pledge thing, walked off that fucking baseball bat going up their arse or whatever the fuck they do in America. And then they're just like, hey, I'm in, bro. I'm a made man. Like, I'm fucking TSM, bro. Like, Bay Life, homie. Even though, by the way, Bay Life as like sort of a spiritual association with TSM ended in about 2014 or 2015 when he'd finally kicked all the people that were part of that type of era of TSM. But okay, pretend like that's the thing because you weren't there, and you're also looking for a religion, aren't you? So I think we're going to start ranking them. First things first, immediately T1 goes to S+. Immediately. Because as I said, they cover all the bases. The weirdest thing about T1 fans is this. You would actually think, because they're Korean and the most successful team org ever in League of Legends, you would think they just have a bazillion fans, and so they're just going to have a very loud vocal minority. But here's the thing. The giveaway for T1 fans was what happened with LS. Do you remember when LS, it was leaked, was going to become strategic coach, the person who's the drafting coach, what Korma did for years? He was going to become that role in T1 in, I think, 2020, wasn't it? And basically, I heard, not what you heard, I heard behind the scenes, when this was just mentioned within T1, it was then suspiciously immediately leaked to the Korean community by people within T1 who, let's just say, don't like gay people. And LS is known to publicly be bisexual, but within that, he obviously likes men. So you could say he is gay in that regard. I think he describes himself as bisexual. Although, to be fair, it just seems like it's men he's always with, but okay, whatever. I can't claim, by the way, even though I'm his mate, I can't claim I follow all the people who's in his life, etc. By the way, it's not even the sort of thing, I don't know about you, it's not the sort of thing I ask people about. I don't call me, hey, what you doing at the moment with your dick? I just go, all right, how you doing? What do you think about this in the game? Or what was going on with that play? That's what mates do, where I'm from. So when LS was doing all that, those Korean fans then decided to resurrect an old necroed topic about the time LS vaguely defended Malice, who might have said something horrible towards Untara, who wasn't even a popular T1 player, but was in the era in 2018 where they was shit, and they was one of the worst players on the team. And they hated on LS by association with Malice and said that meant he was racist. And then later, even when Bwipo defended LS, then Bwipo had to apologise for that, and then also things about effort and it became this whole thing to distract from the fact that, as far as I can tell, they just didn't want a gay person to be allowed to be doing drafting in their org. So there's one angle that I think already makes you win the list, which is weird because think about it, guys. You see endless comments on Reddit and Twitter about how I hate gay people and I'm anti-LGBTQ. Have you ever noticed that? It's almost like that doesn't quite jive, does it? It doesn't really make sense. It's almost like something someone's making up to smear me, like a shitty fan would do. So T1 easily jumps to the top of the list just for that alone. Then add in, probably on aggregate, the most ignorant comments you'll ever see, because there are times when T1 does become like the 10th best team in the world, and they still talk like they're the best team, and they're just hiding their true power level. Like the worst thing about T1 winning Worlds these two times after the massive summer dip is now people have retconned it that isn't that they became really bad, got to a desperate point, fought out of it heroically, and then they became better and better and better, then found the right meta, adapted to it, did all the great things that you'd want pros to do that would make you the greatest teams and players of all time. No, they just were the whole time were as good as they were in the end of Worlds. They were just not bothered. They were phoning it in to save their power and strats, or they just don't care about LCK. Now, by the way, the idea that a T1 fan, the only org ever to have 10 domestic titles, would say LCK doesn't really matter and isn't comparable to Worlds shows the insanity of T1 fans. Because that's like Manchester United fans. Not a great analogy, I know, because obviously Manchester United doesn't have the most UEFA Champions Leagues. But that would be like Man United fans going, in the Premier League era, Liverpool's already won, I guess it's not even a great one because Liverpool won 2, didn't they? Maybe we'll take Arsenal. No, Arsenal never won 1. Who are we taking for this one? Is that Chelsea won a few? Pick someone who won 1 Champions League. Because Man United won 2 in the Premier League era. You going, who cares about Premier Leagues? It's just about this one time we won all right, how about Liverpool fans before 2019? Where you would have gone, you won 1 Champions League. Well, you didn't win any Premier Leagues. Oh, who cares? It's just about the Champions League. We have 2 and you have 1. And it's like, yeah, but you're Manchester United. Your whole thing is associated with the fucking Premier League. You won the most Premier Leagues. You'd be a moron to say that doesn't count. But that's the equivalent. Imagine T1 fans do that. That is literally what they do about their region. That's how stupid they are. So they instantly get to be number 1. Obviously, then they themselves are associated with all the faker shit. But I will say faker fans are different too. Then I will immediately put, because of the recent drama, it's why I made this video, Karming Corp fans, easily S tier. Because they might actually be the worst on paper. Because you get all the death threats, all the stupid comments from people whose profile picture just says a number beginning with a 1 in the bio. The picture is something to do with like an anime image of something to do with the team, or the team logo, or of a player in the team. And then even worse, they're the ones where like, every person in their regional scene goes, oh, free clout. And so like a real journalist for like a sports magazine will comment that this person does not know what he is talking about. Someone who's a streamer, hey, dickhead, no one likes you. And you look and they're like a Rocket League streamer for the orgs. And you're like, what? That shows you, by the way, a Discord is sending people out there. And the message from the org even is sort of like, be an awful shame if someone was to go and harass this guy, guys. Oh, fuck, I've got some lemon in my eyes again. That's why I'm so bitter. So, Carmine Corp, and remember, they haven't even had the accomplishments. Their best run ever was this last summer run, thanks to Upset hard carrying them on like Zeri, etc. That's it. They were an irrelevant team the whole time. They've only been in fucking 1 year in the league. And they've already they've even been toxic to all the players in the team who weren't French. The coaching staff, the players, and by the way, at the end of the year, you know, I just said it was their German ADC carrying them at the end of the year. That's the guy they were treating like shit for the first two splits. Like he's a piece of shit. So the Carmine Corp can be number one instantly. Instantly. Probably the man for man, the worst fans maybe in the history of esports. Because they're just the complete package. Then, let me see. See, this is the funny thing. Obviously, I want to put TSM S tier, but how can you? I don't think in general. I'm being serious. I've been around the whole time. TSM fans weren't the ones who would tell you to kill yourself. That wasn't really that big a thing. Where do we go now, though? Faker fans, S tier. Because not everything can be about saying to kill yourself. But by the way, Faker fans definitely will. And they'll say, the difference is, they don't tend to go for what you should do to yourself. They tend to do more along the lines of like, for real, we're going to petition that you should never, ever work in esports. And that by saying Faker isn't the best mid laner or best player in league, you hate him and you have a harassment campaign against him. And we're going to spread that everywhere on Twitter, on Reddit, on social media. We're going to say that obviously you're jealous of him. You're a piece of shit. You're just using his name for clout. By the way, imagine that. The player, the current two-time world reigning champion, you're mentioning him in League of Legends esports as someone who's a historian and an analyst, and you're obviously only bringing him up. They're implying he wouldn't be relevant otherwise. You're only bringing him up for attention and clout. No, that is a relevant person to talk about, imbecile. And you're giving him awards. The idea, hey, we're going to give Faker Player of the Year. Oh, I don't think he should be Player of the Year. You're just bringing him up because you want relevance. You made me bring him up, you dumb fuck. You made him win the award. If he didn't win the award, I wouldn't be mentioning him and win the award, would I, dunce? You made that happen, not me. So Faker fans easily right up there, probably the most ignorant group of players, not least I always mention, just by the age. Remember, when they put a 1 in front of their name and their bio, that means they weren't around to watch him play when they actually still had the 1 in front of their name at his peak. Or they were like 11. Best case scenario. Best case scenario. Loads of them are just, and by the way, they haven't gone back and watched the old VODs. They don't know what the meta was back then. They have no idea why or when Faker was the best. They talk like he is today because they need him to be today because today he is their dad. Today he is their best friend. Today he is the best person they know. Today he is their God. That's what Faker represents to them. So easily Faker fans, S tier. Then we're probably going to get to some people where I don't think the others should be S tier. I don't think they should be. Like, I actually have a hard time with Mad Lions Koi. Because here's the problem. I thought, if you notice, I've split up French fans. I've split up Carmine Corp and BDS fans. Because I feel like BDS fans are at least fans of a good team. And even the players they're fans of can be good players. Like Adam and Nuke, they were good players at their roles. Sometimes they were even like, I don't know that for me, Nuke was ever truly elite, but he was bordering on it. Adam actually, I think, briefly was elite in like winter of beginning of this year. At least they're good players. The problem is, Carmine Corp fans will be fans of the shit players. Like, they're outrageous. They'll be fans of Targamas, for fuck's sake. Like, what's he ever done since G2? He's just been a bum. I even know what he was like in Carmine Corp, mate. I got all the fucking sources. I can tell you. Just he hasn't personally done anything to me, aside from when he just tried to like dispute that thing, which he was correct about. Obviously, it wasn't his fucking agent, was it, that was involved in the Vethio deal? But he sort of almost did it as if I made the whole story up, and you know I didn't, Targamas, so you won't say anything publicly about that, pal. So I don't think anyone else should be number one. Who else could be in there? Like, even annoying Nemesis fans, that's more like A tier, isn't it? If we go and look, though, you know what? Fnatic fans have to go S tier. I was umming and ahhing about that one. The reason why is this. Because I just think to myself, first of all, I think of my friend Upset. And I remember actually some Fnatic fans being shitty, like Adam, and I think Adam's behaviour incentivized and encouraged it. I think that some of them were shitty to Upset. Even though if you don't know, look, surely by now you can infer what it was. I'm never going to tell the story because it's a private story about someone's literal marriage. But let's just say what has been said all along, and surely you can figure out what happened, idiot. So Upset got married to a girl who's a streamer. He went to Worlds, and suddenly something happened where he got a message. He had to come back immediately. And let's just say it was extremely serious. Like, it's the sort of thing where if you hadn't have gone back home and then something dreadful had happened to the person, you would feel bad for the rest of your life because you gave it up to play a video game tournament that in that particular case, you had a chance to get out of groups, but it wasn't guaranteed. I'm not going to say what it was. I'm not going to say who did what, who said what, but that is what it was. And absolutely, that is none of Adam's business. That is none of the teammates of Upset's business. If he just says to them, look, you have to trust me on this one. I wanted to win this Worlds. It's one of my first Worlds I've ever qualified to. I wanted to compete, but I've just had an extremely serious family situation happen. I have to go home and take care of that. In this particular case, family is more important than the game in this sense. The idea you go, tell me it all, you whore. Tell me all the details, all the gritty, dirty details of your personal life. Tell me what could be happening, or tell me exactly what's going on. In fact, maybe even show me script. What are you talking about, you rude? That was just a self-entitled little prick called Adam deciding he was owed an explanation. Look, mate, you're not getting to play the Worlds with him anyway, and it's none of your fucking business why you had to go back. So when I saw Fnatic fans themselves side with Adam on that one, look, he could say that was Adam fans. But actually, I thought Fnatic fans were terrible. Then you've got to add in the way Fnatic fans acted every time Reckless was ever the best was outrageous. Then the way they acted, like G2 was total scumbag, immoral org, and you're a piece of shit if you support them. But I can tell you, Fnatic has done, as far as I know, all the things they accuse G2 of doing. Poaching, keeping people in contract prison. In fact, they've done it more than G2 has. Doing shit like getting people to sign contracts for shit deals and then fucking with the negotiations and not selling people to a certain org. They've done all those things. It's just most of it was private. And because Fnatic fans control the direction of conversation on the League of Legends subreddit, you just didn't get to see that. It was hidden from you or downvoted. Or lunatic gaslighting fake opinions were put in place so that you thought that wasn't the case. So then you end up with this scenario where it's weird how Wonder was sold from Fnatic to G2 to Fnatic. But explain this to me, guys. When do you see Fnatic players bought by G2? Doesn't happen. When they become free agents, they leave. Then no one's team then, and then they go to G2. Well, no, that doesn't work the other way. One of those mysteries of the world, isn't it? How does that work, eh? And then also, the same dickhead fans who were loving Reckless all those years, now Reckless himself tries to claim both Fnatic and G2 were scumbag orgs. Even though, by the way, absolutely, the stuff he did in G2 was unacceptable. You'll find that out in a video. And publicly, it's even known that he gave his word to Fnatic in the off-season of 2020. He would stay in Fnatic, they rebuilt the team around him, and then he just left for G2 anyway. But somehow that doesn't ever make him the bad guy, I notice. So Fnatic fans can be ST immediately. Because I guess it doesn't have to just be telling you to off yourself. Oh no, wait a second actually. Maybe I should extend an olive branch. Because we're Faker fans. I don't think Faker fans were the T1 fans telling LS like because he's gig. So I think maybe everyone who doesn't tell you to kill yourself should probably earn 8 here, right? I don't know. The Fnatic fans thing with Upset was out of pocket. I maybe put that there. I think that's fairer. You know what? I'll give that olive branch to the Faker fans. They're morons, and they have really outrageous game opinions. But I think in general, like, I don't know. I think it's more T1 Ultras that send the trucks. I don't think it's Faker fans specifically. To me, a Faker fan is usually more like a 16-year-old Korean girl or Western weeaboo who just loves Faker like he's K-pop, like he's a member of BTS or something, right? Isn't that more what they're like? Aren't they more like, wow, I can't believe Oda put his head on Kerry's shoulder like that. I ship them. They're more like that, aren't they? MDK, I can tell you from my own recent experience, they will just aggressively and outrageously lie about you. And they have the craziest victim complex I've ever seen. The way they behaved when they came in with a whack-ass roster with players who should never make it, and they thought they were the best after one mega fluke run where Adam was benched, etc., and some bullshit BO1s where they were barely winning and some of them and just got them together at the end, and people like Carmine Corp just gave them free wins over and over again. they've also done all the egregious public behaviour stuff. I've even seen them. I'll give you an example of what Mad Lions fans did. One time, Ibai replied to Gilius, who was making a tweet in English, and then Ibai replied in Spanish to Gilius. So I pointed out, well, I think Gilius doesn't speak Spanish. So being as you know Gilius doesn't speak that language, it implies two things. Either one, you're literally not able yourself to understand English, so you had to reply in Spanish, which makes it obnoxious, because why attempt to critique someone's opinion that you can't fully understand? Or even worse, what I think, which is that actually you did it in Spanish because it was never a message to Gilius, even though you replied to him. You did that to message your Spanish fan base, to be shitty to him and to be a douche and to win favour with them. So it was just clout farming. Now, when I said that, they did another thing that these fans do. So just like they'll go and they'll find like your mob on Facebook, contact her and tell her to unalive herself, or she's a whore and she should have aborted you. That's a real thing that happens from Spanish, Brazilian, French fans. It happened many times over. As well as doing that, they will also try and community note you. And what they'll do is they'll use a corrupt version where it's not that you said a fact that is factually wrong and the community note corrects that. What they do is they apply a community note by just using a Discord and mass spamming it to say it's helpful, and then it gets applied. And the reason they do that is because they know your tweet from them is getting loads of engagement. And when you get loads of engagement, you make money from Twitter, x.com. So what they do is community note applied to a tweet, as long as it is upheld, means that tweet doesn't make the revenue from X. So they're also trying to deny you even making any money for even just having your opinion. So they'll try and deny you a job, a reputation, everything about you. And then they'll even try and take out all the food out your mouth as well. Even though in this scenario, it's corrupt. So that Ibai example I gave there, they put a community note saying that Ibai could not be clout farming because he has millions of followers. You figure that one out. The idea is, cause someone's really... So by that logic, Jake Paul never does anything for clout because he already has loads of clout. That is the stupid... Capitalist never steals or does something corrupt because he always has loads of money anyway. It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. But that's the sort of one, that's what they think is a good faith argument. Two, that's the mentality of these fans. My God could never do anything wrong. He is God himself incarnate. He is Ibai. His name holds weight. All right, a little bit less now. He looked out of the side of his eye at iShowSpeed once. A person who became famous in esports for actually being super shitty to women on his stream for clout, calling them whores and telling them to get out of his game, but actually now checks notes because we're woke. He's amazing. I love iShowSpeed. What's that? Did Carlos like some tweets? Get him out. Drive him from the scene. What did he ever do for us? So, yeah, actually, I think Mad Lions fans, you can just get on there too. Even though, funny enough, compared to Carmi Cup, your team was actually quite competitive and went to Worlds even. Interested in it. Then we're going to go to the other fans. I feel like immediately I'm going to put TSM fans there. It shows how the esports has changed for the worse. TSM, by the way, if this was like 2019, would instantly be number one because it was all just about the game back then. And when it was all about the game, they just had the most annoying, stupid fans. Even stupider than T1 fans, just by virtue of the fact their team's way worse. Like, if you don't know, they really did used to think that their team was top 10 in the world anytime they were number one in LCS. That was a real thing. And if you thought otherwise, you were a hater. Even though they never got the international accomplishments, I never understood it. Aside from that one IEM, it was fuck all. Miss me with the fucking Season 4 Worlds. You never got a Korean team in your group, you just got lucky. That's the equivalent of getting the fucking FlyQuest draw now, where you get the 3 bad teams and you just get out. I mean, one of them wasn't bad. It was TL, and the same way they had SK. But the point is, that's not a Korean or an Asian team, is it? I mean, a Korean or Chinese team, rather. So TSM fans can just go A tier with the faker fans. They're just annoying. And by the way, they barely exist now at this point in time. They're something of an extinct breed, aren't they? Let me think. Who are we going next with? Right, BDS fans, I'm going to put A for the moment, but I want to actually figure out, this is where I might even do a little bit of audience participation. Do they also deserve S tier? Because they've been really stupid about things like me critiquing Nuke or Adam, etc. But I also feel like, didn't that whole upset girlfriend drama get revived again this year? And then or maybe Adam himself even revived it like a year ago in 2023. And then BDS fans joined him in being shitty towards upset. Although I guess that could be Adam fans, not BDS. I feel like BDS fans in general, look, I will say they do cry that you're racist, but I don't know if that alone gets you to S tier. I feel like theirs is more like they're just whiners that are French. Like, by the way, Carmine Corp fans, way worse than BDS fans. If I was French, I would be a BDS fan. I wouldn't be a Carmine Corp fan. First of all, they play real macro. They have a real team. They have real coaching staff. And even some of the players are good. They just seem like a way better brand in general. Probably why they're less popular, sadly. So I think I'll put BDS fans in A tier. Adam fans, I think, are going to get to go in S tier because, again, they've actually abused someone's wife and their family life and actually tried to make that person's life worse at the absolute worst possible moment when their family was in crisis. I think that's really unforgivable. They've also then doubled down on that exact point about 50 times. Every time it's brought up, they deny it ever happened, deny that it even was the case, tell you have to prove with all tweets. Again, by the way, you're never going to gaslight me that my experience didn't happen. One of the most annoying things about fans is this. You're just a pleb who follows 300 people on Twitter, seeing a tweet and seeing the odd Reddit thread as you get home from school before mum serves the tendies. I, for my job, scour all these Reddit posts. If I open Twitter, I have thousands of people each day trying to tweet at me. I have a way bigger, wider perspective on what fan opinions are than you. You just saw what happened to you. So the idea you go, well, I didn't see it, therefore it didn't happen, therefore you're lying, therefore you must prove to me, that's a sign that you're mentally ill. That's a massive giveaway that you're mentally ill. Also, they're fans of this player really were just looking for a new big brother / dad / like pal, because they acted like this guy was like fucking, you would think he was like one knot hair below fucking Zeus or Bin. It was insane how much they overrated this guy. Meanwhile, if you had an eye test, he was a fucking cretin in the game the whole time. Never understood side laning, never understood wave management, never understood fucking lane pressure, just played like a bozo with plus W religion, if you know the CS term, the whole time, got ganked 50 billion times over, and his team and his coach were so smart they could make that work. They could make that a dynamic in a winning game plan. That's why I know Strikers cracked out. Let me see. You know what? Even though Reckless fans have harassed me for 10 years, gaslighting me that none of the things I say are true, and I'm a hater, and constantly lying about my opinion about their player. By the way, I've said Reckless should be the MVP in splits before. You'd never believe that because liars tell you otherwise. He's only going to go A tier. In general, look, they've certainly tried to tell me, like, if you really fucked up, I'm a pedo or I'm gay. I'm not saying woke people love to say you're gay, even though they then claim it's not an insult. They would say I'm just a bitter old man and a loser and I don't have a job, but at the same time, even though I don't have a job, I'm a professional. Who knows how that would work? Believe it or not, homeless people don't have to maintain a professional standard, so I don't really know how that one even works. But I still think generally it was just a lot of stupid opinions, a lot of fangirling over someone, even if they're men. So I think don't Reckless fans just go A tier. They're not really doing the egregious out-of-pocket stuff I sort of described before. They maybe have a little bit of fucked up opinions about media and industry stuff because of believe in Reckless. And I will say this. I don't know, because here's the problem. No, like Faker fans, they do have a really bad penchant for just attacking all of the guy's teammates and acting like all of his teammates are shit. So I think I'll keep that in A tier. That's not the same as telling people you'll kill them, though. Ooh. You know what? Just because there can't be that many of them and they don't have the chance to be as vocal, I'm going to put Nemesis fans B. Because obviously we're talking about people who have a delusional perception of how good he is or still think every year he should be like given. Essentially, once Caps locks his G2 continent, every other team, in their opinion, all 9 LEC teams and all, whatever it is, 8 LCS teams, should every season offer this guy a blank check in case he wants to play because, I don't know, secretly he's Chovy from fucking Slovakia with a big nose. He does have a big nose. I didn't make that up. I didn't even say it was bad. Just has a big nose, doesn't he? So that is obnoxious, but it's still not as bad, is it? It's not really on the level of, like, think about some of these people in A tier, except BDS, have had like a decade of this shit. Nemesis fans are just mildly obnoxious. Then we'll maybe go... I think LS fans can go in B tier. Actually, no, wait. It's my list. So for normal people, I would say to you, LS fans are B tier, because let's be real. They're more just annoying about his builds or think everything he says is right or decide someone attacked him. But the reason they're going to go A for me, I won't put them S, but the reason I'm going to put A is that story where I just basically had a different opinion about BDD. He tried to clap back at me, so I clapped back at him, and they just fabricated an entire scenario, which they have repeated to this day as if it was a fact. There's no evidence of this at all, that I have blackmailed LS, my friend, with a secret video that I can still release that's hanging over him like a sword of Damocles, and I am now blackmailing him to have to pretend to be my friend, otherwise I'll release dirt on him, even though I actually have told you many times over, and it was even implied in that tweet, I don't have any video like that. Because I'm his friend, I deleted it. My point was, in a moment of anger, when he pissed me off and was being shitty in front of his fans and on stream about me, I said, Maybe I should have released that video, because then obviously people would have seen this other side to him where he could be a little bit petty and a little bit catty, right? By the way, do you not imagine that's part of his persona? He sort of makes a fun version of that when he critiques people and when he's roasting people, right? There's a darker side too. Although I'll say in general, I think he has a good heart. It's one of the reasons I've always fucked with him. I think I'm a very good character read compared to some people in esports. LS himself and Doublelift. Doublelift fans, let's be real, they go and see tier. They're not the worst on this list. They're easily the least. But I'm going to put them on here because they absolutely did. One, act like when he was on TSM, they acted like, even though TSM fans were the original #1 Doublelift haters, when Doublelift was on CLG, they used to say, where's his trophy cabinet? He's not even as good as Wild Turtle or Chaos. He's a loser and a diva and a piece of shit, and he's the reason they don't win, and why isn't he being in front? And then the second he joined their team and they win everything, they're like, I love Doublelift. What the hell? It is Doublelift plus Bjerg. I shipped them and he is the best. And then he went to TL. He's gotten a bit arrogant for me. He's a bit of a diva, if you ask me, and a bit of a self. What's that? He's come back to TSM. Oh, Doublelift. Even though, by the way, it was probably one of his worst splits ever in TSM, if you don't remember that summer split. It was only by the end of the playoffs he even vaguely got half decent, and then he was shit at Worlds, wasn't he? So they're pretty bad. But actually, the main reason I'm going to even include them on this list is more for that whole shit with the lane swap. I couldn't believe that after Monty, Dom, and me, and Dom was even doing it with video, proved on video that Doublelift never ever showed the lane swaps he was talking about were happening, and that they weren't happening, and that those were not lane swaps. They were just Scion dive bot into normal laning strats, which he should know about. He was in those teams. They still maintained that he showed lane swaps and that we were lying and gaslighting everyone. And they even would link to the video and say at this timestamp, he shows a lane swap, which you could go to that video and it is not a lane swap. So they are, like Doublelift, incredibly stupid people. But being stupid isn't the same as being actively toxic in every sense of lying and knowing you're lying and sending people off in Discords and saying to kill yourself and something about your mom and then loads of stuff about your country and your people. One of my favourite things that French and Spanish fans do is you'll basically say, I think Super is overrated. Or you'll go, wow, Carmine Corp fans attacking someone, telling them to kill themselves, they're scum. And they'll go, I hate these racist, bloody English. The fucking English, I hate the English and what they'll do. It's like, you're doing what you're saying I'm doing, except I'm not even doing it, you fucking cretin. I'm not doing it about French fans in that sense, am I? I'm doing it about Carmine Corp fans, you idiot. There are plenty of French fans. Think about some of the overlaps I have in my career. How about fucking Soaz, my boy? One of the few players that's actually like being a friend of mine. Well, Soaz fans don't hate me, because they're not lunatic Carmine Corp fans. There's the other thing. You have to pretend that every French fan's a fan of Carmine Corp. Fuck off. No, they're not. You wanker. Some of the Mad Lions fans. I think we've got this in order now. I think we've actually done it. I think this is the list. Because everyone on the top has done egregious things outside of the game that go way beyond the pale. They're beyond the game. The things they've done, absolutely, I almost think warrant like action from Riot, the teams themselves, the player themselves, LEC. I would identify those people like football people do, and they do it like tennis matches like the Australian. I would identify them and remove those people from venues and bar them and have a picture, and they're barred from even entering the venue. That is what I would do to some of those people. Like the idea you're sending trucks to people's venues to physically intimidate them. You're shouting things out from the crowd about how you'll kill someone or beat them up outside. You're going after people's family members, or you're being actually nationalist not in the sense of I support my country, in the kind of sense of fuck everyone from every other country in an ignorant manner from day one because they're not us, they not like us, etc. That gets you S tier. A tier are the most vocal, annoying fanboys, but typically of the old stripe. That would have been the old S tier. Then B tier is just generally consistently annoying, but they're not that relevant. And then C tier is more just a recent phenomenon. It's a very specific thing. Yeah, there you go. I think that's going to be my tier list. Shout out to anyone who bought any Gamer Subs. They say no man is an island. We all need people who've got our back. And supporting me and the content on my channel are the following people: Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, The Concept, Animosity, Banediesel, Ben Glass, Jasun, Jensen Goh, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it. Always a special thanks goes up to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Do you want to ask a question for my video AMA? Do you want to take part in one of those lengthy discussions where I talk about whatever topics are on your mind? Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming guests are, or maybe even to suggest a guest or a topic for my content? If any of those perks or others catch your fancy, well, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? In the Patreon link in the description box below.